Then it was that Pallas Athena gave Tydeus' son Diomedes fury and daring, so that he might stand out among all the Argives, and win himself high fame. She kindled unwearying fire from his helmet and shield, like the star of late summer that beyond all others blazes bright when it rises bathed in ocean. Such was the fire she kindled from his head and shoulders, and she drove him into the middle, where the press was thickest. There was among the Trojans one Dares, wealthy, blameless, a priest of Hephaestus, and he had 2 sons, Phegeus and Idaeus, skilled in all fighting. These 2 broke from the line and charged him head-on, the 2 of them from their car, he on foot from the ground. And when they were close, advancing on one another, Phegeus first hurled his long-shadowed spear. Over Tydeus' son's left shoulder the spear point passed, and did not hit him. Second, Tydeus' son rose with his bronze, and not in vain did the shaft escape his hand. He struck his chest between the nipples, and thrust him from the car. Idaeus sprang away, leaving the beautiful chariot. He did not dare stand over his slain brother, nor would he himself have escaped black doom either, but Hephaestus snatched him out, and saved him, wrapped in night, so that his old priest should not be wholly broken with grief. And the son of great-hearted Tydeus drove off the horses, and gave them to his companions to lead down to the hollow ships. Now when the great-hearted Trojans saw the 2 sons of Dares, one fleeing, one killed beside his chariot, the hearts of all were shaken. And grey-eyed Athena took rushing Ares by the hand and spoke to him, Ares, Ares, bane of mortals, blood-stained stormer of walls, shall we not leave the Trojans and Achaeans to fight it out, and let Father Zeus give glory where he will, while we 2 withdraw, and keep clear of the wrath of Zeus? So speaking, she led rushing Ares out of the battle, and sat him down on the high bank of Scamander. Then the Danaans bent the Trojans back, and each of the captains took his man. First the lord of men Agamemnon threw great Odius, captain of the Halizones, from his chariot. As he turned, first of all, the spear fixed in his back between the shoulders, and drove through his chest. He fell with a thud, and his armor clattered upon him. And Idomeneus cut down Festus, son of Maeonian Boris, who had come from deep-soiled Tarm. Him Idomeneus famed with the spear, just as he mounted behind his horses, stabbed with the long spear through the right shoulder. He crashed from the car, and hateful darkness seized him. And Idomeneus's aides stripped him of his armor. And Scamandrius, son of Strophius, the keen hunter, fell to Atreus' son Menelaus and his sharp spear. A fine huntsman, Artemis herself had taught him to bring down all the wild things the mountain forest breeds. But Artemis, who showers arrows, was no help to him then, nor the long shots in which he once excelled. Atreus' son Menelaus, famed with the spear, stabbed him with the spear in the back as he fled before him, between the shoulders, and drove it through his chest. He crashed face down, and his armor clattered upon him. And Meriones cut down Pheroclus, son of Tecton, Harmon's son, whose hands knew how to fashion all cunning work. For Pallas Athena loved him beyond all men. He was the one who had built for Alexandros the balanced ships that began the evil, a curse to all the Trojans, and to himself, since he knew nothing of the gods' decrees. Him Meriones, when he caught him in the chase, struck in the right buttock, and the point passed under the bone straight through into the bladder. He dropped to his knees with a scream, and death enfolded him. And Megas killed Pedaeus, Antenor's son, bastard-born, but brilliant Theano had reared him with care, like her own dear children, to please her husband. Phylus's son, famed with the spear, came in close and struck him with the sharp spear in the tendon of the head. Straight on through the teeth the bronze cut under his tongue, and he crashed in the dust, his teeth clenched on cold bronze. And Eurypylus, Euaemon's son, killed brilliant Hypsenor, son of high-hearted Dolopian, who was made Scamander's priest and was honored by his people like a god. Him Eurypylus, Euaemon's shining son, running him down as he fled before him, struck on the shoulder with a sweep of his sword, and sheared away his heavy arm. The bloody arm fell in the field, and over his eyes came purple death, and fate the overpowering. So they labored in the strong encounter. But Tydeus' son, you could not have told which side he fought on, whether he ran with the Trojans or the Achaeans, for he stormed across the plain like a river in flood, a winter torrent that scatters the dikes in its rushing, The close-built dikes cannot contain it, nor the walls of the fruitful orchards hold it, when it comes suddenly, swollen with the rain of Zeus, and everywhere the fine works of strong men crash before it. So before Tydeus' son the packed companies of the Trojans were driven, and for all their numbers they could not stand him. But when Lycaon's shining sun caught sight of him storming across the plain, driving the companies before him, quickly he bent his curved bow at Tydeus' son, and shot him as he charged, striking the right shoulder, at the plate of the corslet. The bitter arrow flew through, and held straight on, and the corslet was spattered with blood. Over him Lycaon's shining sun shouted aloud, "Rouse yourselves, great-hearted Trojans, goaders of horses, the best of the Achaeans is hit, and I say he will not long stand up under the strong shaft, if truly it was the Lord Apollo, Zeus's son, who sped me here from Lycia." So he spoke in his boasting. But the swift shaft did not break him. He drew back and stood before his horses and chariot and spoke to Sthenelus, Capaneus' son. "Up, good son of Capaneus, get down from the chariot, and pull this bitter arrow out of my shoulder." So he spoke, and Sthenelus leapt from the car to the ground, and stood beside him, and drew the swift shaft clean through the shoulder, and the blood came spurting up through the supple tunic. Then Diomedes, good at the war cry, prayed aloud, "Hear me, child of Aegis-bearing Zeus, unwearied one, if ever with kind intent you stood by my father in the heat of war, now befriend me in turn, Athena, grant me to kill this man, let him come in range of my spear, who shot me before I saw him, and now boasts of it, and says I shall not long look on the bright light of the sun." So he spoke in prayer, and Pallas Athena heard him. She made his limbs light, the feet and the hands above them, and standing close she spoke winged words. "Take heart now, Diomedes, and fight the Trojans, for into your chest I have put your father's fury, the fearless fury the shield-shaking horseman Tydeus had, and I have taken from your eyes the mist that was on them before, so that you may know clearly God and man alike. Therefore, if some god comes here to test you, do not fight face to face with any immortal, any of the others. But if Aphrodite, Zeus's daughter, comes into the fighting, wound her with the sharp bronze." So speaking, gray-eyed Athena went her way, and Tydeus' son went back and mixed with the front fighters, and eager as his heart had been before to fight the Trojans, now fury 3 times as great took hold of him, like a lion that a shepherd in the field, guarding his woolly sheep, has grazed as it leapt the fold wall, and not brought down. He has only roused its strength, and after that no help. He slips in among the folds, and the flock panics, abandoned. The sheep are heaped in piles on one another, while the lion in its fury leaps the deep folds wall again. So, in his fury strong Diomedes mixed with the Trojans. There he took Astinus and Hypeiron, shepherd of the people. One he struck above the nipple with the bronze-pointed spear, the other he hit with the great sword on the collarbone by the shoulder, and sheared the shoulder from the neck and back. These he left, and went after Abas and Polydius, sons of Eurydamas, the old reader of dreams. But the old man read no dreams for them at their going. Strong Diomedes killed them both. Then he went after Xanthus and Thun, sons of Phaenops, both late-born and beloved, and their father was worn with hard age, and had fathered no other son to leave over his possessions. There Diomedes killed them, and took the dear life of both, and left the father lamentation and bitter cares. He never welcomed them home alive from the fighting, and kinsmen of the widowed house divided the estate. Then he took 2 sons of Priam, Dardanus descendant, Echamon and Chromius, both in one chariot, as a lion leaps in among cattle, and snaps the neck of a heifer or a cow as they graze the woodland. So the son of Tydeus forced them both from their horses, hard against their will, and stripped their armor, and the horses he gave his companions to drive to the ships. Now Aeneas saw him tearing the ranks of men apart, and went off through the fighting and the clatter of spears, searching for godlike Pandarus, if he might find him. He found Lycaon's son, blameless and strong, and stood before him, and spoke a word to his face. "Pandarus, where are your bow and your winged arrows and your fame? No man here rivals you in it, and no man in Lycia claims to be better than you. Come, lift your hands to Zeus, and loose a shaft at this man, whoever he is, who is master here, who has done the Trojans so much evil already, and unstrung the knees of many good men, unless he is some god enraged at the Trojans, angry over sacrifices, and a god's wrath is a heavy thing. Then answered him Lycaon's shining son, Aeneas, counselor of the bronze-shirted Trojans. In everything I liken him to the war-minded son of Tydeus. I know him by his shield and his crested helmet's eye-slits, and by the look of his horses, yet I cannot say for sure he is not a god. But if he is the man I think, the war-minded son of Tydeus, then not without a god does he rage like this. One of the immortals stands close by him, shoulders wrapped in cloud, who turned aside my swift shaft even as it reached him. For I have already loosed a shaft at him, and I hit him in the right shoulder, straight through the plate of the corslet. I said to myself I had hurled him down to Idaeus, and yet I did not break him. Some god is angry. And horses I have none, no chariot I might mount, though somewhere in Lycaon's halls stand 11 chariots, beautiful, new-built, fresh from the maker, with cloths spread over them, and beside each a yoked pair of horses stands, champing white barley and spelt. Endlessly as I was leaving, the old spearman Lycaon charged me in our well-built house. He told me to mount horse and chariot, and lead the Trojans in the strong encounters. But I would not listen. It would have been far better sparing the horses, for fear that in the crush of men they would go short of fodder, they who were used to eating their fill. So I left them, and came on foot to Iliad, trusting my bow, and it was to do me no good. Already I have shot at 2 of their best, Tydeus' son and Atreus' son, and out of both I drew real blood with my hits, and only roused them the more. It was a bad fate that made me take my curved bow from its peg that day, when I led my Trojans to lovely Iliad, doing a favor for brilliant Hector. If ever I come home, and set eyes on my fatherland and my wife and my great high-roofed house, let some stranger strike my head off then and there, if I do not break this bow with my hands, and throw it into the blazing fire. It follows me around like wind. Then Aeneas, captain of the Trojans, answered him, No more of that kind of talk. Nothing will change until we 2 go against this man with horses and chariot, and try him in his armor, face to face. Come, get up into my car, and see what the horses of Tros are like, how they know their plain, how to wheel fast this way and that, in pursuit or flight. They will carry the 2 of us safe to the city, if once again Zeus hands the glory to Diomedes, Tydeus' son. Come then, take the whip and the glossy reins, and I will dismount to do the fighting, or you face the man yourself, and I will look after the horses. Then answered him Lycaon's shining son, Aeneas, keep the reins yourself, and your own 2 horses. Better they pull the curved car under the driver they know, if we should have to run from the son of Tydeus. I would not have them take fright, and stand useless, awking, unwilling to carry us out of the fighting, missing your voice, while the son of great-hearted Tydeus springs on us, and kills the 2 of us and drives off the single-hoofed horses. You drive your own chariot and your own horses, and I will take him when he comes on with the sharp spear. So the 2 spoke, and mounting the patterned chariot they drove the swift horses hard at Tydeus' son. And Sthenelus saw them, Capaneus' shining son, and quickly he spoke winged words to Tydeus' son. Diomedes, Tydeus' son, delight of my heart, I see 2 strong men bent on fighting you, men of measureless power. One the master bowman Pandarus, and he claims to be Lycaon's son. The other Aeneas, who claims blameless Anchises for father, and his mother is Aphrodite. Come, let us give ground on the chariot. Stop raging through the front fighters like this, or you may lose your dear life. Glaring at him darkly, strong Diomedes answered, No talk of flight. I do not think you will persuade me. It is not in my blood to dodge a fight or cower down. My fury is still steady in me. I balk at mounting the chariot. No, just as I am I will go to meet them. Pallas Athena forbids me to tremble. As for those 2, their swift horses will not carry both back out of range of us, even if one gets away. And I will tell you another thing. Put it away in your heart. If Athena of the many counsels grants me the glory to kill them both, then you check our own swift horses here, and stretch the reins tight to the chariot rail, and remember to make a dash for Aeneas' horses, and drive them out of the Trojan lines to the strong grieved Achaeans, for they are of that stock which wide-seeing Zeus gave Tros in payment for his son Ganymede, the best of all horses under the dawn and the sun. and from that stock the lord of men Anchises stole a breed, putting his mares to them without Laomedon's knowledge. From these a line of 6 was born in his halls. 4 he kept himself, and reared at the manger, and these 2 he gave to Aeneas, machines of rout. If we could take those 2, we would win high fame. So the 2 of them spoke such things to one another, and the other 2 came quickly on, driving the swift horses. First, Lycaon's shining son called out to him, "Hard-hearted, war-minded son of proud Tydeus, so my swift shaft did not break you, my bitter arrow. Now I will try with the spear, and see if I hit." He spoke, and balancing his long-shadowed spear he hurled it, and struck the shield of Tydeus' son. Straight through it the bronze point flew, and pressed onto the corslet. Over him, Lycaon's shining son shouted aloud, "You are hit clean through the flank. I do not think you will hold up long now. You have given me great glory." Unshaken, strong Diomedes answered him, "A miss, not a hit. But you too, I think, will not be done before one or the other of you falls and gluts with his blood Ares, the fighter under the ox-hide shield." So speaking he hurled, and Athena steered the shaft to the nose beside the eye, and it passed the white teeth. The unwearying bronze cut off his tongue at the root, and the point came out under the base of the chin. He crashed from the car, and his armor clattered upon him, glancing bright, shimmering, and the swift-footed horses shied aside, and there his life and strength were unstrung. Then Aeneas sprang down with shield and long spear, fearing the Achaeans might somehow drag the corpse away. He strode around it like a lion sure of its strength, holding before him his spear and the shield balanced every way, set on killing whoever came against him, crying terribly. But Tydeus' son caught up a boulder in his hand, a great feat. 2 men could not carry it, such as mortals are now. But he swung it easily, even alone, and struck Aeneas with it on the hip, where the thigh turns in the hip socket, the cup, as men call it. He crushed the cup, and tore both tendons through, and the jagged stone stripped the skin away. The hero dropped to his knees and stayed there, propping himself with one thick hand on the earth, and black night covered his eyes. And now the lord of men Aeneas would have perished, if Zeus's daughter Aphrodite had not been quick to see, his mother, who conceived him to Anchises herding cattle. She poured her white arms around her dear son, and spread before him a fold of her shining robe to be a screen against missiles, for fear some Danaan of the swift colts might drive bronze into his chest and take his life. So she began to carry her dear son out of the fighting, but the son of Capaneus did not forget the orders that Diomedes, good at the war cry, had laid on him. He checked their own single-hoofed horses clear of the tumult, stretching the reins tight to the rail, made his dash for the lovely maned horses of Aeneas, and drove them out of the Trojan lines to the strong-greaved Achaeans, and gave them to Diomedes, his dear companion, whom he honored beyond all his age-mates, because their minds ran together, to drive to the hollow ships. Then the hero mounted his own car, and took the glossy reins, and drove his strong-hoofed horses hard after Tydeus' son eagerly. But Diomedes had gone after Cyprus with the pitiless bronze, knowing her for a god without war strength, none of those goddesses who lord it in the wars of men, no Athena, no Enyo, sacker of cities. And when he caught her, chasing through the thick of the crowd, the son of great-hearted Tydeus lunged and leaping in stabbed with the sharp spear the tip of her soft hand. And the spear pierced the skin straight through the ambrosial robe the Graces themselves had made her, above the base of the palm. And the immortal blood of the goddess ran, ichor, such as runs in the veins of the blessed gods. For they eat no bread, they drink no gleaming wine, and so they are bloodless, and are called deathless ones. She gave a great shriek, and flung her son from her, and Phoebus Apollo caught him up in his arms and hid him in a blue dark cloud, for fear some Danaan of the swift colts might drive bronze into his chest and take his life. And over her Diomedes, good at the war cry, shouted aloud, "Give way, daughter of Zeus, from war and fighting. Is it not enough that you cozen strengthless women? If you must haunt the war, then I think war will make you shudder after this, even at the rumor of it." So he spoke, and she went off dazed in terrible pain, and wind-footed Iris took her, and led her out of the crowd crushed with agony, her lovely skin darkening. she found rushing Ares seated on the battle's left, his spear leaning on a cloud bank, and his swift horses. Dropping to her knees before her dear brother, she begged and begged him for the golden-fronted horses. "Dear brother, take me in, give me your horses, so I may reach Olympus, where the immortals have their seat. The wound is too much for me. A mortal man struck me, Tydeus' son, who would fight Father Zeus himself now." So she spoke, and Ares gave her the golden-fronted horses, and she climbed into the chariot, her dear heart aching, and Iris climbed in beside her, and took the reins in her hands and whipped the horses on, and the two flew, nothing loath. Quickly they came to the god's seat, steep Olympus, and their swift wind-footed Iris halted the horses, loosed them from the car, and threw them ambrosial fodder. And brilliant Aphrodite fell on the knees of Dione, her mother, and Dione gathered her daughter in her arms, and stroked her with her hand, and spoke a word, and named her. "Who has done this to you, dear child? Which of the sons of heaven, so wantonly, as though you had been caught doing wrong in the open?" Then answered her laughter-loving Aphrodite, "Tydeus' son wounded me, high-hearted Diomedes, because I was carrying my dear son out of the fighting, Aeneas, who is far the dearest of all things to me. This is no longer the dread din of Trojans and Achaeans. Now the Danaans are fighting even with the immortals." Then answered her Dione, brilliant among goddesses, "Bear up, my child, and endure it, grieved though you are. Many of us who keep our homes on Olympus have endured things from men in the hard griefs we lay on one another. Ares endured it, when Otis and strong Ephialtes, the sons of Alois, bound him in strong bonds. 13 months he lay bound in a bronze jar, and Ares the insatiate of war might have perished there if their stepmother, beautiful Erebora, had not brought word to Hermes. And Hermes stole Ares out, worn down already, for the hard bonds were breaking him. Hera endured it, when the strong son of Amphitryon struck her in the right breast with a 3-barbed arrow. Then pain took hold of her too, past all comfort. Hades the gigantic endured a swift arrow with the rest, when the same man, the son of Aegis-bearing Zeus, shot him at Pylos among the dead and gave him over to pain. He went to the house of Zeus in high Olympus aching at heart, skewered with agony. The arrow was driven deep in his massive shoulder, and it wore his spirit. Paeon sprinkled pain-killing drugs upon the wound and healed him, for he was not of mortal make. The hard man, the violent worker, he cared nothing what outrage he did, who vexed with his arrows the gods who hold Olympus. And this one, gray-eyed Athena, set him on you. The fool, the son of Tydeus, does not know in his heart that the man who fights the immortals does not live long. His children do not climb to his knees and call him Papa when he comes home from war and the dread fighting. So now let Tydeus' son, for all his strength, look to it, or a better fighter than you may face him, and Aegialeia, Adrastus' watchful-minded daughter, wake her whole house from sleep with her wailing, mourning the wedded husband of her youth, the best of the Achaeans, the strong wife of Diomedes, breaker of horses. She spoke, and with both hands wiped the ichor from the arm. The arm was made whole, and the heavy pains were eased. But Athena and Hera, looking on, began to provoke Zeus, son of Cronos, with needling words. And the goddess gray-eyed Athena led the talk. "Father Zeus, will you be angry at all with me for what I say? It must be that Cypris was coaxing some Achaean woman to run off with the Trojans she now so wonderfully loves, and stroking that soft-robed Achaean woman's gown, she scratched her slender hand on a golden brooch pin." So she spoke, and the father of men and gods smiled, and he called golden Aphrodite to him and said, "Not to you, my child, are given the works of war. No, you attend to the lovely works of marriage. All this shall be the business of quick Ares and Athena." So they spoke such things to one another. But Diomedes, good at the war cry, sprang at Aeneas, though he well knew Apollo himself held his arms above him. He did not stand in awe even of the great god, but pressed on, always straining to kill Aeneas and strip his famed armor. 3 times he sprang at him, raging to kill, and 3 times Apollo beat back his shining shield. But when for the 4th time he came on like more than man, Apollo, the worker from afar, called out with a terrible cry, "Think, son of Tydeus, and fall back. Do not try to think thoughts equal to the gods. Never of one kind are the race of immortal gods, and of men who walk the earth. So he spoke, and Tydeus' son gave back a little way, shunning the wrath of Apollo who strikes from afar. And Apollo set Aeneas down apart from the crowd in holy Pergamos, where his own temple stood. And Leto and Artemis, who showers arrows, healed him in the great inner shrine, and made him glorious. But Apollo of the silver bow made a phantom, the very likeness of Aeneas, armor and all, and around the phantom the Trojans and brilliant Achaeans hacked at one another's chests, at the round ox-hide shields and the light-fringed bucklers. Then Phoebus Apollo spoke to rushing Ares. Ares, Ares, bane of mortals, blood-stained stormer of walls, will you not go in and drag this man out of the fighting, this son of Tydeus, who would fight Father Zeus himself now? First he wounded Cyprus close in on the hand at the wrist, then he charged at me myself, like more than man. So speaking, he sat down on the height of Pergamos, and baneful Ares went in among the Trojans' ranks and roused them, in the likeness of Acamas, swift captain of the Thracians, and called to the Zeus-nurtured sons of Priam, You sons of Priam, the king whom Zeus sustains, how long will you let your people be killed by the Achaeans? Until they are fighting around the well-built gates? A man is down whom we honored like brilliant Hector, Aeneas, son of great-hearted Anchises. Come, let us save our brave companion from the tumult. So speaking, he stirred the fury and heart of every man. And then Sarpedon raked brilliant Hector hard. Hector, where has that fury gone that you had before? You used to say, I think, that you would hold the city without armies, without allies, alone with your sisters' husbands and your brothers. I cannot see one of them now, cannot pick one out. They cower like dogs around a lion. It is we who do the fighting. We, your mere allies. I am an ally myself, and I came from very far. Far away is Lycia, on the eddying Xanthus, where I left my dear wife and my little son, and great wealth besides, which every have-not covets. Even so I drive my Lycians on, and I am eager myself to fight my man, though there is nothing of mine here for the Achaeans to carry off or drive away, and you just stand there. You do not even order the rest of your people to hold and defend their wives. Take care, or like men caught in the meshes of an all-catching net, you become the prey and spoil of your enemies, and they will sack your well-peopled city soon. All this should be your care night and day, to beg the captains of your far-famed allies to hold on without flinching, and to put away hard reproach. So spoke Sarpedon, and the word bit Hector to the heart. At once he leapt in his armor from the chariot to the ground, and shaking his two sharp spears, went everywhere through the army, driving men to fight, and woke the dread din of battle. And the Trojans wheeled about, and stood to face the Achaeans, and the Argives massed close awaited them, and did not run. As the wind carries chaff across the sacred threshing floors, when men are winnowing, and tawny-haired Demeter in the driving wind divides the grain from the husks, and the chaff heaps whiten. So the Achaeans then turned white from above with dust, which through their ranks the horses' hooves beat up to the all-bronze sky as the fighting rejoined, and the drivers wheeled them round. Straight on they carried the fury of their hands, and rushing Ares drew night over the battle to help the Trojans, ranging everywhere, carrying out the charge of Phoebus Apollo of the golden sword, who had bidden him wake the Trojan spirit when he saw Pallas Athena leaving the field, for she was the Danaans' helper. And Apollo himself sent Aeneas out from the rich inner shrine, and put fury into the chest of the shepherd of the people. Aeneas took his place among his companions, and they rejoiced to see him come to them alive and unhurt, and full of brave fury. But they asked him nothing. The other toil would not let them. The toil the god of the silver bow was waking, and Ares, bane of mortals, and strife insatiably raging. And on the other side the two Ajaxes and Odysseus and Diomedes drove the Danaans on to fight. And they of themselves feared neither the Trojans' force nor their charges, but stood fast, like the clouds the son of Cronos halts in windless weather on the mountain tops, motionless, while the fury of the north wind sleeps, and the other hard-blowing winds, whose shrill blasts scatter the shadowing clouds whenever they rise. So the Danaans stood the Trojans, steady, unfleeing, and Atreus' son ranged through the crowd, commanding everywhere, Friends, be men, take hold of a fighting heart, feel shame before each other in the strong encounters. Where men feel shame, more are saved than slain. Where they run, no fame rises and no strength. He spoke, and hurled his spear quick, and struck a front-rank man, Dicon, Pergus' son, companion of great-hearted Aeneas, a man the Trojans honored like Priam's own children, for he was quick to fight among the foremost. The lord Agamemnon struck his shield with the spear, and the shield did not stop it. The bronze passed clean through, and drove through the war belt into the lower belly. He fell with a thud, and his armor clattered upon him. Then Aeneas took 2 of the Danaans' best men, the sons of Diocles, Crethon and Orsilochus, whose father lived in well-built Pherae, rich in substance. His line was from the river Alpheus, which flows wide through the Pylians' land, and the river begot Ortilochus, lord over many men, and Ortilochus fathered great-hearted Diocles, and of Diocles were born twin sons, Crethon and Orsilochus, skilled in all fighting. These 2 in their first manhood, on the black ships followed with the Argives to Ilion of the fine colts, winning recompense for the sons of Atreus, Agamemnon and Menelaus, and there the end of death enfolded them both. Like 2 lions reared by their mother on the mountain peaks, in the thickets of deep forest, that harry the cattle and the fat sheep, and lay waste the steadings of men, until they too are killed at men's hands by the sharp bronze. Such were these 2, broken under the hands of Aeneas, and they fell like tall fir trees. And as they fell, Menelaus dear to Ares pitied them, and strode through the front fighters helmed in flashing bronze, shaking his spear, and Ares whetted his fury, with this thought, that he should go down under Aeneas's hands. But Antilochus saw him, great-hearted Nestor's son, and strode through the front fighters, for he feared for the shepherd of the people, lest he suffer harm, and cheat them of all their labor. The 2 were holding out their hands and sharp spears face to face, raging to fight, when Antilochus came and stood close by the shepherd of the people. And Aeneas did not stand his ground, quick fighter though he was, when he saw 2 men holding the line side by side. And when they had dragged the corpses back to the Achaean host, they laid the poor pair in their companions' arms, and turned themselves, and fought on among the foremost. There the 2 of them took Pylaemenes, the equal of Ares, captain of the great-hearted Paphlagonian shieldmen. Him Atreus' son Menelaus famed with the spear, stabbed with the spear as he stood, striking through the collarbone, and Antilochus struck Medon, his driver and aide, Adameus' brave son, just as he wheeled the single-hoofed horses, caught his elbow, square with a boulder, and out of his hands the reins, white with ivory, dropped in the dust. Antilochus sprang in and drove his sword through his temple, and gasping he pitched from the well-made chariot headfirst in the dust, on his crown and shoulders. A long moment he stood there planted, he had struck deep sand, till his own horses knocked him flat in the dust, as Antilochus whipped them, and drove them to the Achaean camp. But Hector marked them across the ranks, and charged them shouting, and with him followed the strong companies of the Trojans, and Ares led them, and the lady Enyo, she bringing tumult with her, the shameless spirit of carnage, while Ares handled a gigantic spear in his fists, and ranged now in front of Hector, now behind him, and seeing him Diomedes, good at the war cry, shuddered, as a man crossing a great plain stops helpless at a quick-running river flowing down to the sea, sees it seething with foam, and starts back and away. So Tydeus' son now gave ground, and said to his people, "Friends, no wonder we marvel at brilliant Hector as spearman and daring fighter. Beside him always stands some god who beats ruin away. There Ares stands by him now, in the likeness of a mortal man. Keep your faces to the Trojans, and give ground backward. Do not rage to fight force against force with gods." So he spoke, and the Trojans came on very close. There Hector killed 2 men skilled in fighting, Menestheus and Anchialus, both in one chariot, and as they fell, great Telamonian Ajax pitied them, and came up close and made his stand, and cast his shining spear and struck Amphius, Selagus' son, who in Pasus lived rich in substance, rich in grainland, but fate led him to fight as ally for Priam and his sons. Telamonian Ajax struck him in the war belt. The long-shadowed spear fixed in the lower belly, and he fell with a thud. And glorious Ajax ran in to strip his armor, but the Trojans rained down spears on him, sharp, glittering, and his shield took many. He set his heel on the corpse and pulled out his bronze spear, but the rest of the fine armor he could not lift from the shoulders. The missiles pressed him too hard, and he feared the strong ring of the proud Trojans, who stood over him many and brave with spears set, who big and strong and proud as he was, thrust him back from them, and he gave ground, staggering. So they labored in the strong encounter, and Tlepolemus, Heracles' son, tall and brave, was driven against godlike Sarpedon by fate the overpowering. And when they were close, advancing on one another, the son and the grandson of Zeus the cloud-gatherer, Tlepolemus spoke to him first. Sarpedon, counselor of the Lycians, what forces you to cower here, a man who knows nothing of battle? They lie when they call you the son of Aegis-bearing Zeus. You fall far short of those men who were born of Zeus in the generations before us. What they say the might of Heracles was, my own father, bold-hearted, lion-spirited. He came here once for the horses of Laomedon, with only 6 ships and fewer men, and sacked the city of Iliad, and widowed her streets. But your heart is a coward's, and your people are dying away. I do not think you will be any bulwark to the Trojans for having come from Lycia, no, not if you are very strong, but broken by me you will pass the gates of Hades. Then Sarpedon, captain of the Lycians, answered him, Tlepolemus, yes, that man destroyed holy Ilion through the folly of one proud man, Laomedon, who paid his good service with a hard word, and refused the horses he had come so far for. But for you I say your portion here from me is slaughter and black doom. Broken under my spear you will give the glory to me, and your life to Hades of the famed cults. So spoke Sarpedon, and Tlepolemus lifted his ash spear, and the 2 long spears sprang from their hands in the same instant. Sarpedon struck him full in the neck, and the point passed through, bringing anguish, and murky night covered his eyes. And Tlepolemus's long spear had struck the left thigh. The point tore through, raging, and grazed the bone, but his father still warded off ruin. Then his brilliant companions bore godlike Sarpedon out of the fighting, and the long spear dragging from his thigh weighed on him. No one noticed it. No one thought in their haste to draw the ash spear from his thigh so he might stand. Such toil they had in tending him. And on the other side the strong grieved Achaeans bore Tlepolemus out of the fighting. Brilliant Odysseus marked it, his enduring heart holding, and his spirit blazed up. And he weighed it then in his mind and heart, whether to press on after the son of loud-thundering Zeus, or take the lives of more of the Lycians rank and file. But it was not fated for great-hearted Odysseus to kill the strong son of Zeus with the sharp bronze. So Athena turned his fury against the mass of the Lycians. There he took Caranus and Alastor and Chromius, Alcandrus and Halius, and Noemen and Prytnus, and brilliant Odysseus would have killed still more Lycians, if great Hector of the flashing helmet had not been quick to see. He strode through the front fighters helmed in flashing bronze, bringing terror to the Danaans, and Sarpedon, Zeus's son, rejoiced at his coming and spoke a piteous word. Son of Priam, do not leave me lying here a prize for the Danaans. Stand over me. Afterward, if it must be, let life leave me in your city, since it was not to be that I should come home to my own dear fatherland and gladden my dear wife and my little son. So he spoke, and Hector of the flashing helmet answered him nothing, but swept past, straining to thrust the Argives back with all speed and take the lives of many. Then his brilliant companions laid godlike Sarpedon under a beautiful oak of Aegis-bearing Zeus, and strong Pelagon, who was his dear companion, pushed the ash spear out through his thigh, and his spirit left him, and a mist poured down over his eyes. Then he breathed again. The breath of the north wind blowing round him brought back to life the spirit he had gasped away. Meanwhile the Argives under Ares and bronze-helmed Hector neither turned and ran for the black ships, nor stood up to them in fight, but always backward they gave ground. Once they learned Ares was with the Trojans, whom first, whom last did they strip of his arms, Hector, Priam's son, and brazen Ares. Godlike Teuthras first, and Orestes, driver of horses, and Trecus the Aetolian spearman, and Onomas, and Helenus, Onep's son, and Orespius of the glancing waistguard, who lived in Hyle, hoarding his wealth with care, on the shore of the Caphisian lake, and near him other Boeotians lived, and held a rich district of land. Now when the goddess white-armed Hera marked the two of them killing Argives in the strong encounter, at once she spoke winged words to Athena. Shame, unwearied one, child of Aegis-bearing Zeus. Empty then was the word we pledged to Menelaus, that he should sack well-walled Ilion before returning, if we let baneful Ares rage on like this. Come, let the two of us also remember our rushing courage. So she spoke, and the goddess grey-eyed Athena did not disobey. Hera went to and fro harnessing the golden-fronted horses. Hera, eldest goddess, daughter of great Kronos, and Hebe quickly set on the chariot the curved wheels, bronze 8-spoked, at the two ends of the iron axle. Their felloe is imperishable gold, and over it bronze tires are fitted, a wonder to see. The naves that circle at either side are silver, and the car is slung on plated straps of gold and silver, with a double rail running round it. From it the pole ran out, of silver, and on its end she bound the beautiful golden yoke, and cast on it the beautiful golden breast straps. And under the yoke Hera led the swift-footed horses, hungry for strife and the war cry. And Athena, daughter of Aegis-bearing Zeus, let fall her soft robe on her father's floor, the many-colored robe she herself had made and worked with her hands, and put on the tunic of Zeus the cloud-gatherer, and armed herself in his gear for tearful war. Around her shoulders she cast the tasselled aegis, terrible, crowned on every side with rout. On it is strife, on it valor, on it blood-chilling pursuit, and on it the Gorgon's head, the dread monsters, dreadful and grim, the portent of Aegis-bearing Zeus. On her head she set the golden helmet, double-ridged, four-bossed, fitted with the fighting men of 100 cities. Into the flaming chariot she stepped, and gripped the spear, heavy, huge, compact, with which she breaks the ranks of men, of heroes, when she of the mighty father is angered with them. And Hera swiftly touched the horses with the whip, and self-moved the gates of heaven groaned open, kept by the seasons, to whom great heaven and Olympus are entrusted, to roll the thick cloud aside or set it back. There, straight through, they held the goaded horses, and they found the son of Cronos sitting apart from the other gods, on the topmost peak of many-ridged Olympus. There the goddess white-armed Hera halted the horses, and questioned Zeus most high, the son of Cronos. Father Zeus, have you no anger at Ares for these brute works? How great a host of the Achaeans he has destroyed, and what men, recklessly, in no kind of order. It is grief to me. And meanwhile at their ease Cypris and Apollo of the silver bow enjoy it, having let loose this madman who knows no law. Father Zeus, will you be angry at all with me, if I strike Ares a bitter blow, and chase him out of the fighting? Answering her spoke Zeus, the cloud-gatherer. Go to it. Set the driver of the spoil on him, Athena, who beyond all others is used to bringing him hard pain. So he spoke, and the goddess white-armed Hera did not disobey. She whipped the horses on, and the two flew, nothing loath, between the earth and the starry sky, as far as a man can see into the haze with his eyes, sitting on a lookout, gazing over the wine-dark sea, so far at a single bound spring, the gods' high-neighing horses. And when they came to Troy and the two flowing rivers, where Simois and Scamander join their streams, there the goddess white-armed Hera halted the horses, loosed them from the car, and poured thick mist around them, and Simois made ambrosia spring up for them to graze. And the two went with steps like shy doves in their gait, hot to bring help to the Argive men. And when they came to where the most and the best of them stood packed around the might of Diomedes, breaker of horses, like lions that eat flesh raw or wild boars, whose strength does not give out, there the goddess white-armed Hera stood, and shouted in the likeness of great-hearted Stentor of the bronze voice, whose shout was as loud as 50 other men's. Shame, Argives, vile disgraces, admired only for your looks. While brilliant Achilles still came out to war, the Trojans never ventured past the Dardanian gates. They feared his massive spear too much. Now they fight far from the city, at the hollow ships. So speaking she stirred the fury and heart of every man, and the goddess grey-eyed Athena sprang to Tydeus' son. She found that lord beside his horses and chariot, cooling the wound Pandarus's arrow had made, for the sweat was wearing him under the broad strap of his round shield. It wore him, and his arm was tired. He was lifting the strap and wiping off the dark clouded blood. The goddess laid her hand on his horse's yoke and spoke. Little like himself, the son Tydeus got. Tydeus was a small man in build, but a fighter. Even that time I would not let him fight or flash to the front, when he came apart from the Achaeans as a messenger to Thebes, among the Danaans in their numbers. And I told him to feast in their halls at his ease, even then keeping that strong heart of his. As always he challenged the young Cadmean men, and won everything with ease. Such a helper was I to him. And you, here I stand beside you, and guard you, and bid you with good will fight the Trojans. But either the weariness of many charges has soaked your limbs, or some spiritless fear is holding you. Then you are no son of Tydeus, the war-minded son of Aeneas's line. Answering her spoke strong Diomedes. I know you, goddess, daughter of Aegis-bearing Zeus. So I will tell you my word freely and hide nothing. No spiritless fear is holding me, no hanging back. I am still keeping the commands you laid on me yourself. You would not let me fight face to face with the blessed gods, the others. But if Aphrodite, Zeus's daughter, came into the fighting, her I might wound with the sharp bronze. That is why I now give ground myself, and why I ordered all the other Argives to fall in here around me, for I know it is Ares who is lording it over the battle. Then answered him the goddess grey-eyed Athena, Diomedes, Tydeus' son, delight of my heart. No, fear neither Ares for that nor any other of the immortals, such a helper am I to you. Come, at Ares first, drive the single-hoofed horses at him and strike him at close quarters. No awe of rushing Ares, that raving thing, that made evil, that turncoat, who just now stood promising me and Hera to his face that he would fight the Trojans and help the Argives, and now he runs with the Trojans and has forgotten all of it. So speaking, she pushed Sthenelus back off the chariot, hauling him with her hand, and he leapt down smartly, and the goddess mounted the car beside brilliant Diomedes, blazing for the fight, and the beechwood axle groaned aloud under the weight. It tarried a dread goddess and the best of men. Pallas Athena took up the whip and the reins, and at Ares first she drove the single-hoofed horses. He was in the act of stripping gigantic Periphas, far the best of the Aetolians, Ochesius's shining son. Blood-stained Ares was stripping him, and Athena put on the helmet of Hades, so that massive Ares should not see her. But when Ares, bane of mortals, saw brilliant Diomedes, he let gigantic Periphas lie where he was, there where he had first killed him and taken his life, and made straight for Diomedes, breaker of horses. And when they were close, advancing on one another, Ares lunged first, over the yoke and the horse's reins, with his bronze spear, raging to take his life. But the goddess grey-eyed Athena caught it in her hand, and thrust it up over the car, to spend itself on air. Second, Diomedes, good at the war cry, drove in with his bronze spear, and Pallas Athena rammed it home into the lowest belly, where the waist guard girded him. There he stabbed and struck, and tore the fair flesh open, and wrenched the spear out again. And brazen Ares bellowed as loud as 9,000 men, or 10,000, cry out in war when they join the strife of the war god. And trembling took hold of Achaeans and Trojans alike in their fear, so loud was the bellow of Ares, insatiate of war. As dark air shows out of clouds when after heat a foul storm wind rises, so brazen Ares showed to Diomedes, Tydeus' son, as he went up with the clouds into the wide sky. Swiftly he came to the god's seat, steep Olympus, and sat down beside Zeus, son of Cronos, aching at heart, and showed the immortal blood running down from the wound, and whimpering he spoke winged words. Father Zeus, have you no anger seeing these brute works? Always we gods endure the most shuddering pains by one another's devices, when we bring favor to men. And with you we are all at war, for you fathered the mad, accursed girl, whose mind is forever on lawless deeds. All the other gods on Olympus obey you, each one of us is subject to you, but her you never check by word or deed. You let her run because you bore this destroying child yourself. Now she has set the son of Tydeus, overweening Diomedes, raging against the immortal gods. First he wounded Cyprus, close in, on the hand at the wrist. Then he charged at me, like more than man. My quick feet carried me out of it. Otherwise I should long be suffering agonies there, among the ghastly heaps of dead, or living strengthless from the strokes of the bronze. Glaring at him darkly, Zeus the cloud-gatherer answered, "Do not sit beside me and whimper, turncoat. Most hateful to me are you of all the gods who hold Olympus. Strife is always dear to you, and wars and battles. You have your mother Hera's temper, unbearable, past yielding. I can scarcely break her with words, and so I think it is by her promptings you suffer this. Still, I will not bear to see you long in pain. You are of my stock, your mother bore you to me. But had you been born so destroying from any other god, long since you would have lain lower than the sons of Uranus." So he spoke, and told Paeon to heal him, and Paeon sprinkled pain-killing drugs upon the wound and healed him, for he was not of mortal make. As when fig juice thickens the white milk at a stir, liquid before and it curdles fast as a man turns it, so quickly he healed rushing Ares. And Hebe bathed him and dressed him in graceful clothing, and he sat down beside Zeus, son of Cronos, exulting in his glory. And the two came back to the house of great Zeus, Hera of Argos and Athena of Alcmene, having stopped the bane of mortals from the slaughter of men.